All right, guys. Let me just. All right, guys. So let's crack on with where we were. I know it's been a while since we've been on live. It's been a really busy week. Now, if you haven't seen the video already about the robot that I built and what I'm doing right now, then of course I know that it seemed like I've just been away not doing anything. All right. So from now, anyway, what I can say to you is let's take a look at the dollar index and see where we are first, and then we can talk about robots and stuff afterwards. All right, now this is the strategy tester for the robot from 50K to where it is right now, what it would have produced for 5 years. The results are there. I'm going to close that for now, so we don't need that. So anyway, having a look at where we are right now, the dollar index has taken the high of the previous month here. So we have this very strong bearish movement, and just above these highs right here, we had the price, take this high. So on the H4 and then on the H1, we could see that the price has given us a D1 movement here, our induction, and we have a break of structure here. So my concentration right now, guys, is at this point right here. Now, on top of that, if we go to the daily, if you see right here, this low here, this price level right here is exactly in line with where the price has had this reaction. So my thing is that if the price stays in this order block and starts to push short, then we're going to have a better dollar. However, if price manages to close above here, then we'll go in the other way. And this is really the extremity of where we are right now. Right now, the focus is to get ourselves right into this area right here. This is what I'm looking for. Okay. So if the price does what we're expecting it to do, and it starts to break down for a short, then we're going to have some reversals on all of the pairs when it comes to the Forex pairs, for example. Now, my thing as well, I would say though, is that really and truly, and this is important to pay attention to. All right. When you look at the price action that we've got going on over here, this is a perfect move setup for a short. And if the price does this, then we should have reversals. And now, obviously, this should reflect on major pairs, especially. Now, if we go to the major pairs, now I did a little analysis this afternoon. The market really dry right now, so I haven't really been spending the time to do much on there. Now, Euro USD, AD USD. Now, what we have here is USD JPY at the moment is pushing long. NZD USD is pushing short again. And then after, we have pound USD pushing the same way now. Now, earlier on today, we did have a little bit of an off correlation, but right now, as we've come to close to 3 o'clock, the price has actually given us a with correlation situation here. Okay, so which is great. Now, looking at other things, we've got UK oil and US oil, which are pushing long at the moment. And so when we're looking at correlation from this standpoint, at the moment, the dollar is still bullish, looking at what we have. Now, looking at price structures, though, Euro USD on Friday did an interesting move over here, previous day, and it's broken structure by closing above the high of the day, and it's left this order block over here that would be, if we also go for a long spot to go for. Now, in this setup here, if the dollar index was to return here, whilst Euro USD returns back into this order block, because it looks as though the price hasn't. Okay, to confirm this, if we zoom in, you can see that the market open here, the opening candle, which is also the low here. If it happens, then I'll be now the low previous prices high broken structure on the daily, all of that stuff, and now it's returning. If it stays in that zone, then we've got a move. Equally on Euro USD, we have the inverse here that can give us this long, right? Now, AD USD doesn't look anything like Euro USD at the moment, but structurally speaking, if there's a general trend towards the price action that we're looking at now, the news this week, I've already had a look at it. It's not the highest. There are high impact pieces of news, but it's not the highest of highest impact. It's not interest rates or, things, NFPs and all of that are the highest of the highest, but they're still considered high impact or have a high chance of causing the market to move. Now, Euro USD is one structure. Pound USD is another one that we may potentially see the price go long, and I'll explain. So with Euro USD and similar to Pound USD, the difference here is that Pound USD is actually taking the monthly low. Now, we had a discussion about this about a month back, right? I was actually looking for Pound USD to take the low of the previous month. Now, what the price actually did was, in fact, just that. But then we've had another movement here where the price has wicked down to take that low that took the previous low, okay? So we have an even lower low over here, right? Now, the resulting force isn't that strong at the moment. If I go over to the H4 and we look at the, the outcome of this movement here, we have a H4 order block here, which we might scale down to the H1. Now, if I leave it on the H4, this is the order block in question, this right area here. But if we go down to the H1, you'll see that the exact area that we're talking about is this range here. Now, if we keep that in mind, let's look at exactly what Pound USD has done. Well, just like with Euro USD on Friday, Pound USD has taken this low right here. We've had an immediate reversal reaction here. I guess the only problem I can see from here is that the market structure break that would have been necessary. We have one here. So the price broke structure over here, which is fine, right? And then the price has done some sort of return to this, as you guys would call an FVG, HICT guys, over here. And it's taken off for a long, based on that movement here, and done about 50 pips, which is a nice move anyway. But then, and also inside of this order block too. So now that the price is going here, I want to see how the market would interact with the high if it can reach there. If the price gets to this high and starts to dwindle a bit, then we might have to change our stance in terms of dwindling momentum. But for now, these structures probably are the most similar. Now, taking the counter argument, let's look at the USD CHF chart because that's highly sensitive to the dollar index. And at the moment, let's just look at where we are. So on the daily time frame, on the weekly, let's even scale back to the monthly. What we had happen? So we had this major short period here. Now some further lows down here. The price came to revisit those for a bit and has gone long since. On the weekly time frame, which is intriguing, it's a bit hard to tell. These lows are relative equal lows. And this bounce isn't that strong, but the price may still recover, don't get it wrong. To verify this, we can go to the H4 and just compare the weekly low. So over here, look at this. So this is exactly what happened. So we had a very tiny pip movement where price took the low of that previous week and just took off. Now, it had a good momentum to start off with, but as it's continued to go along, you can see that the directionality of the trend is starting to trend towards it's not a accumulation, but it's starting to become a range. It's starting to slow down quite a bit. Now, currently on the H4, and this is where I've been really looking at the most, the price hasn't been able to get past this H4 order block. Now, we call this a H4 price cap within the Wealth Group Academy, a cap on the price, a special type of supply zone that has special meaning. Now, for the moment, if we were to take a look at, where the price is from where we are, we have this high of the previous week here. And then over here, we have a H4 order block that the price is holding and not breaking past. So we have a few options to do and pretty simple options here. Now, depending on the closure above the high, if there even is one, let's say, for example, we have a strong body close, the middle of the H4 candle, so the midpoint closes above here, then we'll be in a continuation phase and the price will go to the next supply order block available, which would be right over here. All right. And if you blend it with higher time frame analysis, then what's actually going to happen is the price will fill this liquidity gap and start to approach this fair value gap as or weekly validation point. All right. Now there are other gaps further up, but as we lay the foundation and we look at what we've got going on, you will see that the price has room to go up for a further move. On the other side of the story, because of the way the price took off here, we do have some inefficiencies in price that hasn't been fulfilled, but price may not decide to go and, take care of that right now. So the other side is if we have a wick closure here, the price may actually decide to reverse and at least take a few lows. Now, if I was to take the current swing from top to bottom of where we are, all right, we've just kind of completed a cycle, then you can see, interestingly, that this wick here was the equilibrium point of this range and the price has come here. So fair market value for this range starts here, all right? So I want to see how the price interacts with the high of the previous week. And I want to see how the dollar index behaves at the moment. That's really my primary focus. So at the moment, the dollar index is actually gating speed. And I'm actually probably going to just put an alarm here so we can assess what the price does. Now, if we have a weak reaction and the price is still able to close higher and higher within the supply order block, then we know that the market is going to tread higher. If not, then we know that this is the initiation of a move. Now, I'm still watching Euro USD with a BDI because if it gets back down here, stop loss beneath the low, and then we could get the price at least reaching back to this high right here one more time before a short. Now, the reason why I'm anticipating these kind of movements is because before the dot, yeah. So what now you can actually do is ideally, and I want to put this out there, ideally what you want to do is set yourself in a position where you set up, and I want to put the right words, you want to set up yourself in a position where you know that, okay, whatever you're planning to do or whatever trade you're planning to take, you have a plan and a strategy. At the moment, the H4 for Euro USD is a strong case, and also the higher time frames for the price to actually go for one more long. All right. And I mean, even looking at the H4 a bit further with Euro USD, just coming back here, this supply order block has no return right here. So there's a massive range between this area and this area here. All right. There's a range of just unfulfilled efficiency. The price gave us just sell prices, no buy prices on the other side. And so if the price was to do anything, this would be a perfect return move before another short. And knowing how the price is and how the market is, even though there's going to be inevitably be a very strong dollar for a while, which will be the last kind of manipulation of the dollar here, I know that at the same time, we're in a position where the market would have to respect that direction of the short sooner or later. But until then, it could shoot up for a long one more time as kind of like a last re-entry before that happens. Okay. Now, my final thing I wanted to discuss today is gold and Euro USD, but I'll stick with gold for now. We might touch on on USD 30, not on Euro USD. Now, looking at gold, guys, we actually have the break beneath this order block. Now, the price has been pretty smooth down. We haven't had that massive move now. Now, I know the whole market, like literally everybody who's trading and knows what a gap is, knows that there is an obvious gap here in the market that hasn't been filled out. And for those of you who know a little bit more, understand that right here we have a liquidity void that ends at 35, and we also have some lows here that the market could very easily want to go for at 1803. Now, gold is a very sentimental pair, and because it's got the highest market cap, 9 trillion right now, compared to even Forex and the rest, it's a sentimental pair. So in terms of like whole number levels, in Forex, they may not have as much meaning. I know there was a wave of teaching about sentiments and sentimental levels and whole numbers and stuff. Now, there is an algorithmic setup behind whole numbers, but I still would say that when it comes to gold, whole numbers actually do have meaning, because gold, currency is used, of course, for everything, to buy anything, but gold is used in so many important industries around the world. So certain figures and certain numbers can trigger certain responses. I do think that they're algorithmic and manipulative responses in nature, but I do think that they're a lot more pronounced on pairs. Now, you can do a little case study for yourself and just study what happens when the price breaks, past 100 level, so $100 level, so from 18 to 1900. When the price is to 1900, observe what the market does near those levels, above and beneath. Okay, so for example, right over here, when the price was finally able to break 1800 right here, it struggled for a while. It was kind of up and down, and then we had this strong burst, and the price came right back over here to 1803. So just a few pips beneath 1800. So you get these kind of situations and scenarios in the market. All right. So every time the market makes a new $100 level, especially with gold, from my personal observation, we have some very strong reactions, and we have one incoming, which will be down here. Anyway, looking at the structure now, since the price has broken beneath this area here, all I'm really waiting for gold to do is to return back in here one more time. And again, this is another scenario. What price level are we at? Right now, we're at the 1900 level. So 19002, but you can call it 1900. This 1900 level is going to be another level that is going to get people watching, investors of all types around the world, and it's going to trigger some manipulative responses. I want you to know, guys, that where the most money is in the market is where most of the manipulation is, because the ability to profit from that is the highest. So I'm expecting gold to come back to this 1900 level, because that will be the language of retail style trading. The price is going to retest the 19 level, whatever. But I do think that we have $100 drop from 19, I guess just above 19 to 1800, maybe sub 18. All right. So all I'm waiting for is really this. Now, there's a couple of highs along the way that the market's left, but my eye, and I've been comparing this across charts, is on this day right here, the 11th, because we have equal highs that the market has left all along the way, and even on the 10th, which I'm suspicious about. Okay. And my suspicion is that the price may, in fact, give us a strong move to about 1912, get to the edge of the zone, but close back inside and then go for a short. I think that we could potentially get that to happen. Okay, so again, I'm watching very, very carefully what the dollar index is going to do. And I've got my alarm here, because it's pretty interesting that the dollar looks like it's about to pull into this area. And wherever Euro USD lands off, I might end up just having to, grab something on that. But for now, I'm not touching or moving and lifting a finger, okay? But this is really my review, guys, of what I'm looking for. With the US 30, I think it's better to discuss tomorrow, because there's not really that much going on it right now, okay? Nothing significant enough for you to want to take a trade on personally. So I'll leave that there, all right? Now, final thing is for the news. All right? So what I'm going to do is let's do something here. Let's take a look at the news quickly and see what we've got for the week. Now, I've already looked at this week. This week is not the highest impact news, but any high impact news event can cause a reaction. Now, I would say the biggest news is on Friday, when we have a speech from Jerome Powell. Now, the last time we had the discussion about this, even though we didn't hear the speech and there was nothing really negative or positive said about the dollar, we still had some crazy movements occur at 4 o'clock, I believe it was that time. So it's not a surprise to me if we get a situation of something similar, where we don't really get much for the week, but all of a sudden on a Friday afternoon, just the fact that Jerome Powell is speaking causes, some reactions here. So let me just bring this up for you guys, and let's take a look at where we are. So there's a few reds here tomorrow and some yellow, some speeches, New Zealand dollar retail sales news, which is going to be interesting. We have some Euro news in the morning, which this news right here can actually cause a pretty strong reaction on the Euro pairs, because we have, and then we also have pound pairs. So I'll be watching Euro USD even in the London session. It might be something there. We have the US S&P PMI news, which is still high impact, but it's not in the highest rank of high impact in my books. All right, we have these two. Okay. On Thursday, we have the Jackson Hole Synopsis, which the Jackson Hole Synopsis is really the Federal Reserve bankers coming together with other world leaders or banking leaders and just discussing the future of the US economy. Okay. So it's going to be interesting to see what arises from that. Now, Friday, we have some Japanese news, and then we have the second part of the Jackson Hole Synopsis, and then the third is on Saturday, okay, when the market is actually shut. But in between that time, we have a speech from Jerome Powell, which I'm guessing is at the Jackson Hole Synopsis. we have a speech from President Lagarde at 8 o'clock in the evening, which is pretty rare, but let's see what comes of it. So you can see we do have high impact news. Don't get me wrong. I'm not downplaying the news, but it's just not obviously the highest, CPI kind of the extreme high impact news. Okay. So for now, guys, I'm just setting an alarm. If you want to do the same, you can. Let's just see what the price does when it gets into this order block. If the reaction is strong and price starts to lean down to go short, then yeah, that could be the beginning of that reversal movement. If not, then we'll stick around for now and come back tomorrow. So I'll catch all of you guys later. Good to be back, and